Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. Why do we do the things we do? When you get up in the morning, drink a glass of water, get dressed, go to work, all of these steps are for what exactly? I don't mean to hit you with an existential crisis on a Friday, but January is usually the time for that kind of thing, eh? And there are two books out now that take different approaches to helping you take stock of your life. In a bit, if you're feeling like you're living life on autopilot, a new book argues that humor is the perfect remedy. But first, let's hear about some people who are really going for it, trying to live their lives to the fullest, even if the people around them are a bit skeptical. Mark Medley's book, Live to See the Day, is a collection of profiles of people trying to achieve a goal that likely won't happen. I'm not talking about going scuba diving or building a car or something. I'm talking about people trying to find creatures that may or may not exist. NPR's Martínez talks to Medley about some of these people and what we, people who aren't trying to make contact with aliens or whatever, can learn from them. That's coming up.
This message comes from LinkedIn, who knows how even one hiring nightmare can ruin your small business dreams. That's why LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant uses insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a personalized shortlist of the best applicants, and even finds candidates you would have otherwise missed, so you can hire right the first time. Start hiring with LinkedIn and post your job for free today at linkedin.com/NPR.
As a new year kicks off, some may be busy checking off a list of goals and dreams they hope to accomplish in 2026. Now, our next guest has traveled the world learning about people who have spent their lives chasing a reward that may never come, at least not in their lifetime. There's the chase for a pink-headed duck largely known to have gone extinct in South Asia. There's a team in the United States working to defend the planet from objects in space. And let's not forget the photographer in the jungles of Indonesia chasing a mystery ape. Mark Medley is a journalist and the author of Live to See the Day, and he joins us now to talk more about this. So, Mark, first off, the idea behind this book, how did it even come about?
This book really wouldn't exist if not for a woman named Liz White. She's the leader of what is now called the Animal Protection Party of Canada, and there was a federal election. And I pitched my editor on the idea of profiling a no-hope candidate, one of those names on the ballot who, you know, are lucky to muster a dozen votes, if that.
The underdog story, yeah.
Exactly. And she would run in every single election. And it wasn't like over the years she was getting better results. After watching this continued for like a decade, it struck me this had the makings of a book. You know, people who are striving for a goal, they know they're never going to achieve, or as you said, it's not going to happen in their lifetime. And so I went out in the world to find more people like Liz.
So let's get into that, because you just said striving for a goal they are never going to achieve. That doesn't seem like a good way to start anything.
You would think so, and I wouldn't think so either. You know, I found in the years I was working on this book, and I kind of got a glimpse of what they go through myself, I found it's a really admirable way to live.
All right, Mark, let's get into some of these dreamers. Tell us first about the photographer who has spent pretty much his entire life pursuing a mystery ape.
So that is Jeremy Holden. He's a British man, and he spent over 30 years, much of that living in Sumatra, looking for a creature called orang pendek. So this is basically the Sumatran version of Bigfoot and has been in, legend on the island for ages. What is it? It's a bipedal ape, and Jeremy claims to have seen one in 1994, soon after his arrival in Sumatra. And he has devoted his life since then to proving to the world that it's real.
But he's a photographer. Why didn't he have a camera then?
It's a very, very good question, and one I asked him and one many, many people have asked him. The way he put it to me during his encounter, he didn't have a camera. And even if he did, he was so dumbstruck by what was in front of him that he was just in a state of paralysis. So that's Jeremy.
So tell me then, Mark, with the people that you have spoken to on this, what is the difference, or where is the line between patience and determination and just plain delusion?
I mean, I don't think necessarily delusion is a negative thing. I think delusion, even though it has these connotations, delusion can actually help you start something. Because if you willingly knew from the outset that you were not going to achieve this goal, a lot of us wouldn't start in the first place. So one of the things I've really, really tried not to do is label them in this way because, I might be delusional. The fact writing a book, knowing that the odds are this is not going to wind up on the New York Times bestseller list, right? And yet I did it anyway. There were many, many times my wife probably thought I was delusional.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your wife. The one thing with some of these people is that there are people around them, one way or the other, either positive influences or negative influences. And I want to play a scene from a movie, one of my favorite movies of all time, Mark. It's Contact, a 1997 film. Jodie Foster plays Ellie Arroway. She's a brilliant scientist, child prodigy, who's obsessed with contacting extraterrestrial life. But her research gets shut down because it's just deemed as a waste of resources. Let's play that clip.
Is it true? I let you pull the plug.
I know you can't say it now, but I'm doing you a favor.
Oh,
You're
that's
far
great.
too promising a scientist to be wasting your gifts on this nonsense.
Look, I don't consider what could potentially be the most important discovery of the human race nonsense, okay? There's 400 billion stars
And
out
only
there. We
two
have not even
probabilities.
started-
One, there is intelligent life out there, but it's so far away you'll never contact it in your lifetime. And
Like, you're making a decision.
two, there's nothing out there but noble gases and carbon compounds, and you're wasting your time.
Tom Skerritt is the other voice playing the president's science advisor, David Drumlin. I mean, Mark, Jodie Foster's character there, that could be a character in your book.
She is a character in my book. Jill Tarter, she was one of the co-founders of the SETI Institute, which is in Mountain View, California, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, which I visited a couple of years back. And Jill was the inspiration for Ellie Arroway's character in the novel. And so, listening to that, I mean, Contact's one of my favorite movies. It's one of the reasons I became interested in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Before I let you go, I need to find out about the chase for the pink-headed duck that I mentioned earlier. I mean, just to think of a duck with a pink head I'm rooting for this pink-headed duck to be discovered.
Yeah. So Richard Thorns is a gentleman who lives in the UK, and he has no science background whatsoever. He was working in a menswear shop in a small town when in the late 90s, he went to the library and he found a book called Vanishing Birds. And he read it over his lunch break. And he decided that the story of this duck, which was last seen in the wild in 1935, last one died in captivity in India in 1948. And even though it hasn't been seen in, 80 years, it has still not been declared fully extinct. And so what this guy has done is basically, for the last 15 odd years, is he has been like a one-man search party for the pink-headed duck.
Well, what do you think we can kind of learn from these people that are pursuing these passions and keep doing it regardless of the people around them or maybe forces at work against them?
Well, I think in my own life, it has led me to be more patient. I'm trying to embrace failure more than I ever have in my life. That's if something doesn't go my way, or if I realize, there's something I want that I'm never going to get, then that's okay. That's part of life. It's part of the journey. And that actually might lead me somewhere better, somewhere more interesting.
Mark Medley is the author of Live to See the Day, Impossible Goals, Unimaginable Futures, and the Pursuit of Things That May Never Be. Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This message comes from Capital One Commercial Bank. Your business requires commercial banking solutions that prioritize your long-term success. With Capital One, get a full suite of financial products and services tailored to meet your needs today and goals for tomorrow. Learn more at CapitalOne.com/commercial. Member FDIC.
This message comes from Carvana, who makes buying and financing your next car easy. Thousands of vehicles, terms up front, and 100% online. Even get it delivered to your door. Buy your car the easy way with Carvana. Delivery fee may apply.
When was the last time you laughed? Not just tee hee hee, ha ha ha, but a big, guttural, gut-busting laugh. If it's been a minute, you might want to fix that. Chris Duffy's new book, Humor Me, is all about how humor can help us see our lives from a different slant, can help us connect with other people, and can make the drudgery of life a bit more bearable. Here's NPR's Sacha Pfeiffer.
Chris Duffy is a comedian, but he'd reached a point in his life where he'd nearly forgotten the joy of laughter.
I was teaching at a school, and I was dealing with a lot of really tough issues. Kids who were dealing with poverty or struggling with home situations or housing insecurity.
But as Duffy describes in his new book, Humor Me, a fifth grader helped him find the funny alongside the grim.
I really had lost a lot of my sense of humor. There were not laughs in my day-to-day. And it became really unsustainable. I just wasn't having fun, and I was burning out, and I felt like nothing I did really was making a difference. And then one of the students who I was working with, who actually was one of my more challenging students, he started a column in the school newspaper where he was a food critic who reviewed cafeteria food. And his reviews were so funny that I couldn't help but laugh. And it reconnected me to the idea that we can still be joyful and humorous and laugh even while we are in tough times and dealing with serious things. And that kind of transformed my life, to be honest.
And you make the argument in your book that humor can be taught, that we have humor muscles. Now, that surprised me because I sort of thought of humor as something you have or you don't have. So explain the muscular part of this.
Yeah, a lot of people think that you're either born with a sense of humor or you're not. And I just completely disagree with that for a couple of reasons. One is I have been a professional comedian for 12 years, and I've seen tons of people go from not that funny to hilarious. And then I've also taught comedy to a lot of people, and I've seen how you can really learn the skills of comedy. And one of the biggest things for me is that a lot of humor is actually a practice. And it's a practice of noticing things that are odd and unusual and then asking some more questions about them. And the thing with any sort of attention or practice like that is the more that you do it, the easier it gets. So if you start noticing funny, unusual things, then you find that you notice more and more and more. And then your life is filled with hilarious, weird, unusual things where before it was kind of just a gray blur.
Although you also acknowledge in the book that after a while we tend to go into autopilot, like our commute is the same. We might stop seeing things. So how do you think people should get out of their ruts or their routines and start thinking that thing around me that I barely noticed is actually really entertaining?
Okay, so we all have had this experience of you walk into your house and it's not like you actually see anything in your house. You just know the path. You know it so well you could do it with your eyes closed. You're on your commute and you're not actually registering the things that you're driving past. You're just making the turns. And every once in a while, we get jolted out of that and we notice what is actually in front of us. We actually see what is on the floor in our living room or what is next to us on the street. And that's not always funny, but that's the root of what can be funny is to actually notice things. So I encourage people to use what I would call a new bathroom state of mind. And so the way that I think about this is if you walk into a friend's house for the first time and you're using their restroom, you immediately notice, where is the hand towel? Do they put their toilet paper with the roll going down or do they face it over the top the correct way? Do they have a book in the bathroom? Is the book kind of disturbingly look like it has been wet and then dry? You notice all these things. So I think that the more that we can walk through the world with a little bit of that new bathroom mindset, the more that we'll find the delightful, strange quirks that make us laugh and actually just make us pay attention.
There are some places where you might think it's a stretch to find humor, but you mention an example in your book involving a funeral home, and I thought this one was very funny. And typically, if we're in a funeral home, it's not a happy setting. So can you tell the funeral home anecdote?
One of my friends, Michael, had a real tragedy and had a loss, and he was at the funeral home and he was paying the bill afterwards. And when they gave him the receipt, it said, "Thank you, hope to see you soon." And he said, that's no place in the world that I would hope to be seen soon, less than the funeral home. What are you doing? But it also made him laugh for the first time in a really long time. Him and his wife, they had a really cathartic laugh. And I think that idea, right, that humor can snap us out of how we're feeling. It's not that it actually changes the situation. It didn't improve the fact that they had a horrible loss, but it made them for a moment have this release.
There are many people, obviously, today who feel very down about the state of the world. We know that there's a loneliness epidemic, that a lot of people feel isolated. Many people feel dismayed about politics. And because of that, people can actually feel a little guilty laughing or being lighthearted. What's your advice for them?
Yeah, it's something that I really relate to. I mean, sometimes, especially because my job is to make people laugh, when the world is really terrible, it feels like, what am I doing? I mean, there's tragedy, there's death, there's violence, there's war. What is the purpose of laughing? But what I keep coming back to is that humor and laughter, for me, they're kind of the opposite of toxic positivity, right? The idea that hey, there's a silver lining in every cloud. Like, don't worry, there's a war going on, but there's a bright side. And that's ridiculous, right? Sometimes there are just things that are bad. They're just bad. They're not good. And humor, to me, doesn't say, actually, it's good, but it lets you laugh at it. Sometimes it's funny how bad it is, right? Like any parent can relate to you're having a day where you're totally overwhelmed, nothing is going right, and then right when finally it looks like the kids are going to go to sleep, one of the kids throws up all over the floor. And you just have to laugh because it's like, this couldn't possibly be worse timing. But the laughter lets you release the tension. It lets you acknowledge the ridiculousness of the situation.
On the website for your book, there's a blurb that really attributes a lot of power to humor. It says that humor can help you make friends, be healthier physically and mentally, be more creative, get through hard times. I mean, how powerful ultimately do you think humor is?
Well, I think that there's a ton of research that shows how important human connections are to our lives. That one of the biggest predictors of our health and our longevity is how many people you feel like you can talk to. And to me, that can sometimes feel like a homework assignment, right? Like, oh, I have to go out and talk to someone or call a friend or send a letter or do this work. And I think that the big power of humor is that it makes all of that work feel fun. It makes it feel like play, and it makes you magnetic. Everyone loves to spend time with someone who's laughing and who's joyful and who makes them laugh and have joy.
It's true, isn't it? You gravitate towards those people.
Totally. They're magnetic. So I think that humor, its superpower is that it lets you make those really all-important connections with other people in a way that feels effortless.
That's Chris Duffy. He's the author of Humor Me, How Laughing More Can Make You Present, Creative, Connected, and Happy. Chris, thank you.
Oh, thank you. This was an absolute pleasure.
That's it for this week on NPR's Book of the Day. Let us know what you think. You can write to us at bookoftheday@npr.org. I'm Andrew Limbong. The podcast is produced by Chloe Weiner and edited by Megan Sullivan with help from Ivy Buck. Our founding editor is Petra Mayer. The show elements for this week were produced and edited by Jacob Fenson, Elena Torek, Emiko Tamagawa, Todd Month, Samantha Balaban, Melissa Gray, Lily Carroz, Adriana Gallardo, Ryan Bank, and Ed McNulty. Yolanda Sanguini is our executive producer. Thanks for listening.
This message comes from Jerry. Many people overpay for car insurance because switching feels like too much hassle. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/NPR today.
Support for NPR and the following message come from Spectrum Business, providing connectivity solutions to help your business stay online and on track. Delivering fast, reliable internet, phone, TV, and mobile solutions, all backed by 100% U.S.-based support. They offer scalable plans and straightforward pricing. Spectrum Business, reliable connections, responsive support, and tailored solutions that power your success. Learn more at spectrum.com/business. Restrictions apply. Services not available in all areas.